New Bloodline Plans, WWE contracts up soon, WWE and AEW TV wins, and more. I'm Luke Owen and this is the WrestleTalk News.
Support WrestleTalk!
Get exclusive videos over on our Patreon.
We kick off today's news with some absolute nonsense that has been called out by the people involved. Ringside News, a site that has admitted to making up stories just for clicks, posted an exclusive report that Mercedes Moné's debut and run in AEW has caused massive upset in the women's locker room. The site claimed that Moné had her own dressing room, which even the men don't have, her entourage comes to every show, and she won the TBS Championship early in her run, which upset those who've been there longer and haven't had those sorts of chances. However, the biggest part of this story is that Saraya and Britt Baker in particular were angered by Moné's treatment. Now, it's quite easy to shoot down one of those bits. CM Punk, quite famously, had his own dressing room. But more than simple fan sleuthing, two of the names mentioned in the report have called out, with Saraya tweeting, "Don't ever listen to Ringside News, just saying." Britt Baker retweeted this post. When a fan pointed out that Saraya was trending off the back of the report, she replied, "If you actually take Ringside News as a credible source, you're the dumbest motherfucker alive," explaining why the story was posted, because me, Britt and Mercedes are easy clicks for them. In an age where false stories are spread so easily because Twitter is a hellscape of terrible assholes, it's important to remember to check your sources. Sean Ross Sapp, Andrew Zarian, Brandon Thurston, Mike Johnson, hell, even Dave Meltzer 50% of the time, or, just watch the WrestleTalk News because we just repeat what they've said. Speaking of those reliable names, Sean Ross Sapp is reporting that WWE were happy with the SmackDown viewership from Friday on USA. It was expected the viewership would drop somewhat as USA is not as big of a channel as the show's former home Fox. The episode did 1.7 million viewers, which is down from the 2 to 2.3 million the show was getting on Fox, but again, that was to be expected. Brandon Thurston said the rating was on par with a good rating for Monday Night Raw on the same network. The last time SmackDown was on USA Network was in 2019, where it drew 2.09 million viewers, so it is down from that number, but then again, Raw in that same time period was doing 2.2 million viewers. Last week's Raw did 1.4 million, and this week's did 1.5 despite competition from the football. Perhaps the biggest win, according to WrestleNomics on their Patreon, is that SmackDown was by far number one in the 18 to 49 on cable in primetime on Friday. That 18 to 49 demo number was actually up 22% from the previous week on Fox. And it's not just WWE celebrating TV wins, as we may finally be closing in on the conclusion of the chatter about AEW's TV deal. And we'll have more on that in a moment, but first, the latest episode of Cutscene is released this Friday, where I talk about the troubled history of getting a Deadpool movie made. And in the meantime, you can check out last month's episode where I charted the very sad history of Neil Blomkamp's unmade Alien 5. The story of Neil Blomkamp's unmade Halo movie is a story for another time, but that quote pretty much summed up the creative process he went through. Ultimately, Fox didn't trust Blomkamp's vision, and disagreements between them, Universal, and Microsoft meant that the movie died a swift and unsatisfying death. Blomkamp swore off movies based on intellectual properties, and an insider told Vulture in that same 2012 article that Fox flipped them completely. Yeah, I'm still worried about that demonetization. 2024 has seen a lot of online chat about wrestling contracts, as so many of them were signed in 2019 with the launch of AEW, and WWE trying to keep their talents from jumping ship to AEW. But there were also those TV deals. SmackDown signed deals for Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, while AEW scored a TV deal to air on TNT. Over the last 9 to 10 months, we've had reports of WWE crossing all the T's and dotting the lowercase j's on their TV contracts, SmackDown moving back to USA, NXT to CW, and Raw to Netflix. But the only thing AEW have been dotting are the question marks over their TV future. Their TV deal with Warner Bros. Discovery expires this year, and the exclusivity window is now over. These past few months have seen a lot of positive stories and reports about AEW's TV deal, but nothing has been concrete. There was even a story last week that said things were disastrous for All Elite Wrestling, though speculation claims that was planted by TKO. But a new report from Puck's John Orland might have the concrete details we've been craving. Orland writes that it looks like it will be a 4-year deal, 3 years guarantee plus an option, and the $170 million per year number floating around wrestling message boards is apparently in the ballpark. Okay, so it's not concrete at all. God damn it, just announce the deal already! Fightful Select had previously reported that AEW's new deal would be at least double what they got for their last deal, and this 170 million figure would corroborate that. Their 2023 deal with WBD was reported to be for 60 million, including the half year of Collision, which grew to 85 million in 2024 for a full year of that show. Doubling that figure does give you 170 million. What's interesting is that it is double the figure, but for one less show. Orland writes that this will see 2 AEW shows air on TNT, TBS, and True TV, and that AEW is also pitching another package primarily to broadcast channels. According to Dave Meltzer and Sean Ross Sapp, this would likely be Fox, with the rumor that AEW Shockwave could be a show airing on FS1. If this is all true, it means the death of Rampage. SRS also adds, we've not heard of any talks regarding Ring of Honor, but that's not to say those conversations haven't happened. Crucially, this 170 million a year might be for just TV only and could not include pay-per-view rights from Max, which would then be a separate deal. And that brings us to the one Bill Phil remarks that CM Punk made when he returned to AEW and became the face of Collision, with the idea that AEW would make $1 billion from their new TV deal. This would require AEW's deal with WBD to be for $200 million per year over 5 years. If the 170 figure is correct, they won't hit that mark, especially if the deal is for 4, not 5 years. However, Sean Ross Sapp notes on Fightful Select, while the length of the deal wouldn't get them there, the 170 million figure plus additional pay-per-view deals or revenue as well as outside packages likely would. Should AEW land this deal, which Orland says is expected to be announced next week, it would make AEW the most profitable wrestling company since WCW. Not only that, but as Meltzer writes, it would more than wipe out all the previous 5 years of losses and make, from a profit-loss standpoint, adjusting for inflation, the second most successful company in history by a wide margin. Orland writes, for Puck, the deal makes a clear success for AEW. I'm sure there are some podcasters seething about this news, but it should be noted. As Meltzer points out, while people are taking it as gospel, nobody from AEW has confirmed or commented about any of this. And Fightful Select writes, sources we've spoken to at AEW say that things have been tight-lipped about the future of the deal and that talent has not been privy to the details of AEW's TV future or the future of pay-per-views. And speaking of one Bill Phil, CM Punk made his advertised appearance on last night's NXT, and in fact made appearances. He had an in-ring segment with NXT Women's Champion Roxanne Perez and her #1 contender Julia, and appeared later in the show to announce he will be the special guest referee for Ethan Page's NXT Championship defense against Trick Williams on the CW debut. That episode will also see Perez vs. Julia, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill appearing, a Miz TV segment, along with Zachary Wentz and Wes Lee having a street fight. Also on last night's show, Randy Orton was announced to be wrestling on the second CW episode of NXT, where he'll face Javon Evans. Austin Theory and Grayson Waller were also announced for that show. That episode of NXT will be airing head-to-head with AEW Dynamite, and Corey Brennan of Fightful Select writes, those we spoke to within the brand expected more announcements of main roster talent appearing on that show in the next couple of weeks. But remember, some people will try and tell you in the comments that WWE do not see AEW as competition. Speaking of which, PW Insider Elite are reporting that WWE are currently in the process of extending some of their contracts of their biggest stars. As we've said a lot over the last 9 months, 2024 is the year of contracts, and WWE have sewn up a lot of their big names like Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, and Natalya, while others like Ricochet opted not to re-sign and jumped to AEW, while Becky Lynch did not re-sign her deal at all. It has now been reported by Fightful Select that Sheamus is the latest name to put pen to paper. His contract was set to expire this year, but was then extended to next year due to his injury. Fightful Select say this was a new multi-year deal and one that was signed ahead of time. And this is where the PW Insider story comes from. Mike Johnson is now reporting that WWE has aggressively pursued new deals for key superstars, even for those whose current contracts still have time left before expiration. This is an effort to keep hold of talent as the competition, not just from AEW, grows in the wrestling world. Those key names looking to be re-signed/extended are WWE Women's Champion Nia Jax, Women's World Champion Liv Morgan, and the former champ Rhea Ripley. Johnson adds each of these women has played a pivotal role in WWE's programming and fan engagement, making them prime candidates for contract extensions. It's an interesting new tactic for WWE. If PW Insider are to be believed, these contracts are not expiring soon. WWE are just getting ahead of the game in getting them tied into new deals. And lastly, for the WrestleTalk news today, and Dave Meltzer noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that WWE are simply waiting for the right time to debut Hikuleo, who will be likely renamed to Tama Tonga when he does. Hikuleo is the brother of Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, and Meltzer said that Hikuleo will likely debut in the Bloodline when he does show up. But he is not the only Anoa'i name currently on the rumored to be joining WWE list. Zilla Fatu was spotted in the crowd during WWE SummerSlam, which saw the return of Roman Reigns to take down Solo Sikoa and the new Bloodline lineup. He missed a GCW show in New Jersey the following night, sparking speculation that he was WWE bound. While Fightful Select reported that Zilla Fatu was and is not signed by WWE, the company naturally has their eyes on him. They note that he missed that GCW show due to travel issues. However, he has popped his head up recently following the news that Armando Estrada has signed a new WWE Legends deal for special appearances, merchandising, video game, and action figures. Estrada is best known in WWE for being the manager of Umaga, who was the cousin of Roman Reigns, but perhaps more notably, Umaga is the father of Zilla Fatu. And Fatu responded to the news about his father's former manager signing with WWE with a teasing eye emoji. But that's all from me. Please do go check out Cutscene because I'm super proud of it, and I'm proud of everyone who has worked on it, and I would really appreciate your support. Love you all. Have a great day.